Charles or Charlie?
Charles.
Charles. I thought so. It's me, Candis. I'm here filming for Angel Radio with Charles, who is... When is your show, Charles?
On Sunday mornings at 6:30.
Perfect.
WAGS Ragbag, it's called.
Oh, okay, awesome. So I'll have to give... I'm not normally awake that early on a Sunday, but I'll have to give a listen one day. And Charles has very helpfully actually made us a little checklist of stuff to go through. So this is... we're going to have loads of great content here. So, wow, why don't you start at the beginning? Tell us right from the start, point one on the...
Well, I committed a sin, the very first thing I did. But I got myself conceived out of wedlock.
Oh, okay.
And in those days, 1933,
Yeah.
it was about the fifth worst sin in the country after murder, arson, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
To be conceived out of wedlock, ooh, it was terrible. My poor mother had to bring up a baby without a husband.
Gosh. Well, I was going to say, you know, being a single mum is so hard now. I can't imagine back in the 30s.
Yeah, well, it was socially unacceptable, but it was never talked about, but people guessed.
Yeah, okay.
And as long as it wasn't said out loud,
Okay.
you struggled along somehow.
Okay. So,
That was during the war, of course.
yes.
Well, it was before the war when I was born. When the war started on the 3rd of September 1939, the first thing that happened was that I was evacuated from London to Northampton.
Gosh.
And it was an extraordinary experience. I was just 6 years old, and the whole class climbed into a coach, and off we went to Euston Station and to catch a train, which was wonderful. You know, we were all
Yes.
going away on holiday,
Oh.
and but all the mothers were standing outside the school weeping,
Oh, because you didn't go with your mum, of course.
and we couldn't understand that. But the teacher soon got us singing "Pack Up Your Troubles in Your Old Kit Bag," and so that was fine.
Oh, amazing. Well, not amazing. I'm glad you were happy about it at the time, but it's an incredible experience. So what was it like? Where did you go?
Went to Northampton on the train, and it was wonderful on the train because you looked out of the window and there were cows and sheep, just like the ones you see in the books, you know, but these were moving. It was fantastic.
Of course. No, I suppose you never would have seen that growing up in London.
And when we got to Northampton, we formed a long crocodile and walked through the town to a school where they'd laid on tea for us.
Oh.
And there were lots of ladies with big bosoms standing behind the tables, giving us lots of goodies and calling us "my poor lovey." And then when we had tea, we gathered together in groups of about 24 with one of our teachers and one of theirs, and walked round the town knocking on doors. And when we got to 35 Grafton Street, two very, very old people came out. I mean, they must have been nearly 40.
Gosh.
And said, yes, we said we'd take two. Could we have the two youngest? So I was pushed forward, and so was June. I didn't know her. And June started to cry. Oh, I want to be with my sister. And these wonderful people said, all right, we'll take three. And Uncle Fred and Aunt Flo, as they were called, were just wonderful people. And that's where the name of my program comes from.
Oh, wow, amazing.
Because he said, we don't say Charles in this part of the world, we usually say WAG.
Okay.
So that's where WAGS Ragbag came from.
That's funny. Why WAG?
I have no idea, it was just a local custom.
Yeah.
And they looked after us for 3 years wonderfully, and I loved them all their lives. And eventually, when she died first, and then he was in hospital, and I was just about to go off in a ship around the world, so I went to see him. And when I got to the hospital, the ward sister said, I'm sorry you're too late. And I said, oh no, when did he die? Oh no, no, she said, I'm sorry, he's not dead, but he's blind, he's deaf, and he's completely gaga. He sits up in bed all day talking absolute nonsense, and we can't communicate with him.
Okay.
And so I went and held his hand, and I remembered that during the First World War he'd been in the army as a signalman.
Okay.
So I took his hand and I tapped out on it the Morse code calling signal, di-da, 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 and he stopped talking and he put his head on one side and he was listening. And so I tapped out the name that he'd given me, WAG. He said,
Oh, you're going to make me cry in a
WAG
minute,
Wylie,
Charles.
he said. And he knew that I was there.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
But it was only for a few seconds, and then he was back again in his strange world.
Oh, how wonderful.
Mm.
You made me all tearful. I don't normally cry on these videos. Okay. Oh, that's amazing. And did you stay in contact with June and her sister?
Only for a few years, and then somehow we drifted apart. I don't know why that was. I suppose it was because I joined the Navy.
I suppose life just happens like that, doesn't it, sometimes?
I was called for. I didn't see my mother for 3 years, and then I moved from Northampton to Southampton,
Okay.
where she was now living, and stayed there with her. And I went to a lovely school where they pushed me hard to get a scholarship to a grammar school. And I went to a grammar school called Taunton's Grammar School,
Okay.
and I was there from the age of 11 to 15. And in those 4 short years, they taught me everything I needed to know for the rest of my life. It was just wonderful. English, maths, physics, chemistry, French, Latin, all those things.
Gosh.
And it was just terrific. And Taunton's Grammar School was marvellous, because not only did they teach us all those wonderful things, but there was athletics and chess, and it was just wonderful.
Amazing.
And they not only taught me all that, but I learned how to command a ship.
What? Okay.
They didn't actually talk about ships, but the headmaster was a delightful, benevolent chap, and his deputy, or first lieutenant as we would say in a ship,
Okay.
was a real Tartar, and so he would use hard discipline, and the captain, the headmaster, would step in and just ease it off a bit, and that's how a good ship is run.
Okay. So explain to me, what's a Tartar?
Well, somebody who is very, very strict.
Okay. I thought it might be that, but I've never heard the expression before.
It comes from the Far East. The Tartars were a race of pirates, basically.
Oh, okay. Wow, you're full of good information. Right, what's next on this? Where did we get to? You
Well,
got to Taunton's, there you go, okay.
When I was 15,
Mm-hmm.
I joined the Navy as a boy seaman.
Is this in 1948?
Yes.
Okay.
I joined as a boy seaman second class,
Mm-hmm.
and after only 5 weeks I was promoted to boy seaman first class.
Okay, so
But
I know nothing about the ranks, so please explain. I'm sorry to interrupt, but could you just explain, what's the...
Well, if you could imagine anything lower in life than an ordinary seaman,
Okay.
it's a boy seaman.
Okay.
We don't have them anymore.
Oh, okay.
But the fact that I was promoted to boy seaman first class was no great shakes, because so were all the rest of the class.
Oh! Okay, I was getting all excited for you then after 5 weeks, but...
And I had excellent training there. It was pretty harsh. Punishment was usually 7 days number 9 punishment, which meant an extra hour's work in the morning and an extra hour's work in the evening. So get up at 5:45 instead of 6:45, and the hard work consisted of doubling with a rifle on your shoulder, up and down a coal heap.
Oh my gosh, okay.
It was barbaric.
Yes. I'm not sure they'd be doing that to anybody now.
But it taught me a very good lesson, because the lesson was, don't get caught.
I was going to say don't misbehave, but don't get caught.
So I managed to do that all the way through my career, except once, which I can come to later.
Okay.
Yeah, and after that, I was sent to sea in HMS Wrangler, which was a wartime destroyer, and we went to Hamburg on a ship visit. And this was only 4 years after the war. When was it? 1949, yes. So it was 4 years after the war. And Hamburg had been bombed, but I didn't know how much. And I walked to the top of the hill, and I could see for about 8 miles in every direction. And there wasn't a complete building anywhere.
Wow.
And I looked at this devastation, and I thought, we did that.
Wow.
Hamburg was firebombed, and with incendiary bombs and explosives, and the heat was so much that it drew in gale force winds from all the way around, which fanned the flames.
Wow. Okay.
And all through the war, I'd had a map on the wall, which showed where we were, the goodies, and where they were, the baddies. And then I realised that it's not just black and white, that sometimes the goodies do things which are not very nice.
Yeah, it is complicated.
It is.
Right, where did we get up to?
So then I was sent on a troop ship, Devonshire, from Liverpool to Hong Kong, where I joined a destroyer called HMS Comus. And that was just before the Korean War started. And so when the war started, I was 16, and by the time we got to August, the 23rd, which I remember well, I was now 17 and really grown up.
A man.
Yeah, and I had two jobs. One at action stations on a 4.5-inch gun, which was used for bombarding the enemy supply lines on the shoreline, and so that was my action station, and we did that to interrupt the supply line for the North Korean troops that had invaded South Korea, and my defence station, when we were not actually at action stations, was feeding ammunition into an anti-aircraft gun mounting.
Oh wow, okay.
Bofors gun. And my job was to lift a clip of 4 shells out of a ready-use locker, put them in the side of the mounting where the loading number could lift them up and drop them into the gun.
Okay.
And so that's where I was at 7 o'clock in the morning on the 23rd of August, when although I suppose as a boy I was about as useful as a chocolate saucepan. However, I did have good eyesight, and I spotted 2 aircraft and reported them to the officer of the watch.
Okay.
And he identified them as friendlies until they did a great big U-turn and started a bombing run from astern. And then he sounded action stations, and the captain came rushing up to the bridge, saw these planes diving, and yelled, "Full ahead, both engines, hard to starboard!" And that meant that the ship did increased speed and did a great turn to starboard.
Okay.
And these aircraft were diving down, and I was standing there looking at them and thinking that they looked really beautiful. They looked like giant albatrosses or seagulls, especially when the leading edges of the wings started sparkling like fireworks.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't until I was surrounded by machine gun bullets
Oh my goodness.
and cannon shells that I came to my senses. But that's when my officer-like qualities came to the fore, because
Right.
in spite of the fact that I hadn't done a staff course, I carried out what we called an appreciation of the situation.
Okay.
So I established an aim and supporting objectives. I made a plan and put it into action. And I did all of that in 3/4 of a microsecond and dive for cover.
Oh, well, it's a good thing you did.
And in all the wisdom of my 17 years, I chose to take cover behind ready-use lockers full of Grey's Fuse Bofors shells.
Okay.
But none of the bullets or cannon shells hit these lockers, so I got away with it. And I thought, what a hero I am. But actually, the real hero was down below, because you remember the ship was turning like that to starboard.
Yeah.
All 8 bombs fell in the water,
Oh.
but one of them fell very close alongside the port side and blew a hole 6 feet long and 2 feet wide in the side of the ship and flooded the boiler room,
Oh my goodness.
killing the leading stoker who was in
Oh.
charge of it, and leading another leading stoker, John Bannister, in charge of a boiler room which previously was very hot and was now filling rapidly with
gosh.
seawater. Well, what do you do in a situation like that? You get the hell out of it as fast as you can. But that's not what he did. He ordered his junior stoker to evacuate, and realizing that if seawater surrounded his boiler room, his boiler, his high pressure boiler, it would explode and blow the ship apart.
Wow, okay.
So he released all the high pressure steam to atmosphere so that it was now empty, and he isolated his boiler from the boiler in the next compartment so that the steam from there did not also evacuate, and that saved the ship and saved my life.
Wow.
And for doing that up to his neck in water in the dark, he was awarded as Distinguished Service Medal.
Oh, wow.
And there's a sequel to that, because
Okay.
about 10 years ago, I was sitting in my kitchen with some grandchildren, and I was leafing through the magazine of the Royal British Legion. And I turned a page and burst into tears.
Oh.
Grandpa, what on earth's the matter? And I said, look at this photograph. This is John Bannister. I thought he must be dead, but he's very much alive. And I told them the story about how he saved my life, and they went up to their bedroom and they wrote him a letter.
Oh.
Dear Mr. Bannister, thank you for being so brave, thank you for being so professional, thank you for saving Grandpa's life.
Oh.
And a few months later, Jean and I visited him so that I could pay my respects. And he had retired as a chief petty officer, and he knew that I retired as a commander. So he opened the door and said, hello sir, welcome. And I said, John, you saved my life, my name is Charles.
Oh, I love
And
that.
we've been pals ever since.
I love that. Is he still with us? Is he still?
Yes, he is.
Oh, good.
Yes, he's,
Oh, good. I was also a bit worried when you said about being up to his neck in water. He may not have made it.
he survived, and
Oh.
his DSM was awarded by Her Majesty in one of her first investitures at Buckingham Palace.
That's amazing. Wow.
And he managed to keep it quiet for about 60 years, and then suddenly somebody discovered that he had Distinguished Service Medal, and proper honours were given to him.
Good.
He's a great chap.
Oh, that's amazing. That's wonderful. You'll have to send him this video.
Oh yes.